Hi, welcome to another edition of Mike Finds Things. This week I only found stuff at one estate sale. I did go to two estate sales. It's been a crazy week. A little bit of filming. I had my kid. She had a problem where she had to go to the hospital. She's fine now, but so I literally only got to go to two estate sales this week. First one, they wanted $10 for any LP, including the ones that no one wants, and then the ones that people would want are probably worth less than $10. So I just walked out the door without anything. Went to the second sale, which started an hour later. Did find stuff, so we're going to go into that. Basically, what we do on this channel is I find stuff at estate sales, sometimes thrift stores, wherever I can find them. Sometimes I'll buy out record lots that are posted online. Bring you the good, the bad, and the ugly of what I find. Usually the good, because the bad no one really wants to see, I've found. Unless it's like terribly interesting. Sometimes you find interesting bad. So we're going to get right into this one. I went to this sale. Like I said, all the LP guys were there, all the local guys. When you go to a lot of estate sales, you run into a lot of the same people. You know what they're into. I didn't see the box of 45s until it was too late. Somebody already gone through it, so I have no idea what he pulled. He didn't seem like he was really a record guy because I'd never seen him before, and he didn't grab everything that was good. So I'm guessing he wasn't really a record guy. And then they had 78s. I started going through the 78s first. Only pulled one, and then I usually do this if they're somewhat near my house or near where I'm going to be on the last day of the sale. I'll say, hey, if I come back on the last day of the sale, can I buy out the rest of the 78s? Sometimes they'll give them to you, like especially the estate sale companies. They've been doing it well. They know people usually don't buy 78s as much. I've been given 78s that way, and I've gotten them really cheap. So I went back the final day of the sale, bought the rest of the 78s for $25, and we're going to go into that because I did actually find some good stuff in there. And I'm going to have a really good tip for you coming up on, which you probably already know anyway, but we'll get into that tip when we get to that part of the video. First one I found was a 45. We're going to go through the 45s first. I do have one 10-inch LP coming up, and then the rest are 78s. We've got a 1962 rock and roll teen record in decent shape. It needs to be cleaned. It is autographed. The original came with a picture sleeve. I'm guessing the picture sleeve got tossed because of the actual record is autographed by the artist. It is Dick Rogers with Years and Years Ago on Damar. So I always like to pick up these minor label records. I don't know what they are. This one on Discogs has sold for a low of 6, mid of 10, high of 50. And I said I'm guessing upper end would have the picture sleeve. And I'm Gonna Love You So. It's very teeny bopper rock and roll. I did listen to it. I think they even have this on. They might even have this on a lot of these songs. If you want to look up what they are, they're either, this one's probably not on iTunes, but even the minor label ones a lot of times are on. Someone has put them on YouTube, especially if they don't pop for copyright because they've fallen out of copyright. So that's the first one. Next one, we got a funk soul record from '68. You know the artist. It is a promo in the original sleeve. Kim Weston with Thankful on MGM. This one is a low of $1, mid of 6, high of 15. A lot of the promos they have here look like they were never played or were barely played. So like I said, I don't know if there was any other promos in there before that other guy went through it. Like I said, I've never seen that guy before at sales, and I don't know who he is, and he didn't seem to be like super into records. He was just kind of going through them, so he might have just pulled all the hits out. For all I know, I really don't know. From 1968, we got a soul pop record, low of 2, mid of 8, high of 19. But on Discogs, the wants are 14 versus the haves, which are 7. So a lot of people have it. There's twice as many people looking for it than have it on Discogs. In the original sleeve, promo. You know the artist at least, Dick and Dee Dee, the Escape Suite on Dot. Again, another promo, and the other side is I'm Not Gonna Get Hung Up About It. And it's kind of a soul, but more of a poppy soul. I'll show you the record's like super clean. I said some of these look like they've either never been played or barely been played. And this one was marked G on the back for some reason. A lot of times you'll find promos, and of course they draw the X on there so they know which side to play if it's not already marked. Here's one that's marked. It looks like a K, but maybe it was an X and they drew it wrong. This one's not in the original sleeve. It's a 1968 soft rock cover of a Rolling Stones song. So low of 5, mid of 850, high of 10. As Tears Go By, Ron Wilson on a Columbia white label promo, and the B-side is I'll Keep On Loving You. So I'll show you the record on that one. So there's that. Like I said, that one has a little bit of value to it. More of a soft rock, but cover of a Rolling Stones song. Here's another Dot promo. This one is a soft psychedelic / folk record is my notes. I think it's listed on Discogs as a psychedelic rock. You gotta watch it. On Discogs, a lot of times the records are listed as what the first person said it was, and it's often not correct. In fact, I've got an LP that'll probably be coming up in a future video that it was listed as psychedelic rock. I bought it at a thrift store. It was definitely not psychedelic rock. It was actually nowhere near psychedelic rock. So, so this one actually is a kind of psychedelic, but more like a soft folk psychedelic, if you know what I mean, from '68. Dog Eat Dog, The Ribbon of Blue on Dot. This one had the original Dot sleeve as well. And on the other side, I Won't Get Up. Sounds like my daughter right now. No, she's resting right now. She got back from Japan. I will say she got sick, and yeah, and then she still hasn't adjusted from her trip, I will say, the time difference. So she gets up later in the day. I'm hoping she's getting a little bit better. So I got 2 copies of this one with the original sleeve and one without. Another white label promo, or 2 of the same, from 1968, low of $1.50, mid of 1266, high of 32. This one's got a funky beat to it. You know the artist. It is Chained by Marvin Gaye, and I'll show you. I've got 2 copies, one with the sleeve and one without. They both look like they've either barely been played or hardly been played. Kind of a real funky beat, almost like a Northern Soul record. Not one of Marvin Gaye's best known songs, and it's one of those where both sides are chained, so the DJ wouldn't mess up and play the B side on the promo. Since it has a bit of a value, I'm guessing because it's got like a funky beat, probably would fit in like in a Northern Soul set. So that's kind of cool because I love Marvin Gaye. Obviously, I love Motown. You know, I find a lot of Motown on this channel. Pop record from '68 with a $13 value. Another audition copy, not for sale. Promo, Ranwood, Don Perrin with Smell the Color Blue. It's pop. Normally, if I was seen Smell the Color Blue, I would think it was a psychedelic record, which is probably why I grabbed it. And then Pick a Color is the other side. So a very colorful record. Smell the color blue, or you can pick a color. Take your pick. There you go. We got another Motown Tamla promo, white label. This one is listed. Okay, this is another thing you find on Discogs is sometimes people cannot find the record, so they list it as a new record that's not in there, and then this one actually got listed 3 times. Now, if you can't find a record on Discogs, here's a tip. Go into Google the song, Google the record with 45 or 78 or whatever, and then Discogs in one line, and a lot of times it'll pop up. The Discogs listing will pop up because Discogs, their search feature sucks. It's not good, and it has to be spelled exactly correct for it to come up, which doesn't always happen. And sometimes the people who enter the record on Discogs originally did not spell the record correct, and sometimes they didn't put the B side or the A side. They just put one side of the record. So I've seen that before as well. So I always say if you can't find it, Google it, and then a lot of times it just sends you back to Discogs onto the correct page, which I guess is what happened. So this one listing is low of 3, mid of 4, high of 6. One is low of 5, mid of 860, high of 15. The other one is low of 7, mid of 8, high of 19. And yes, they are the same pressing. I'm in a different world. The 4 tops, it does have a sticker that'll probably come off with lighter fluid, but in very nice shape again. 4 tops. So I'm in a different world, and it's another one where it's the same on both sides. Some of the times you got to look. Sometimes one side is stereo, one side is mono. I don't think that's the case with this one. A lot of times you find that on promos because a lot of them were AM gold, which back then AM was mono. So they would just play the mono side for the since it had like a deeper sound, and they didn't really need the stereo version for the AM dial back then. Here's one, not worth a lot. It's a $5 record. It's a record I find a lot on a non-promo locally because the label is a local label. This is a promo copy of Lonesome Town by Johnny Crawford on Delphi. I don't believe, I could be wrong. I don't remember ever coming across a white label promo Delphi, which is probably why I grabbed it. Proud is the other side on this one from 1963. I find a lot of Johnny Crawford on, in fact, that record lot I went through recently. I still haven't done any of the videos. There was a bunch of Johnny Crawford on Delphi, not non-promo though. So they do pop up locally since obviously they had national hits, but they were a locally based Los Angeles label. Here's a Northern Soul record from '68. This is kind of a low value Northern Soul. Low of $1, mid of 4, high of $12.66. You know them, you love them. Archie Bell and the Drills from Houston, Texas, because they have to mention it on every record. I think it was part of their contract. And do the Choo Choo. Yes, they do mention they're from Houston, Texas on this one. They not only sing, but they dance just as good as they want. Love Will Rain on You. All right, it's not Tighten Up. But I think they mentioned they're from Houston, Texas on every single one of their songs. It's like, you know we're from Houston? Yes, we know. We get it. Here's one in the original sleeve. It's a Duram psychedelic group out of the UK. I guess this was a bigger hit in the UK than it was here. Low of $1, mid of 4, high of 8, so kind of a low value psychedelic record. The Muffin Man, World of Oz. I guess the LP was reissued years later, or I was looking it up, but the 45 probably was not. Peter's Birthday is the other one. World of Oz on Duram. Great. Now someone's like drilling. Hopefully it doesn't pick it up too bad. It's early. I'm filming these in the morning because I find it's before gardening starts happening, and I usually know if I don't see any construction trucks, I'm okay. So there are no construction trucks on my street today, so we're good there. But this is somebody, it sounds like maybe like across the street, maybe the house behind or something. Here's one. It's in an ABC Paramount sleeve. It looks like an older ABC Paramount sleeve than the record. This one is not on Discogs. Now, this is one you got to watch out when the records are not on Discogs at all. Not much info about this one. There's one on eBay for $65, listed as Northern Soul. Now, I see this before. People list records as Northern Soul on eBay that are not Northern Soul. You listen to the record, you're like, that is not Northern Soul. You cannot take eBay sellers. Also, eBay asking prices are usually way out of line. So unless you have a sold comp from eBay, like it was sold for that price, I don't like to use eBay. The only other copy I could find was on eBay. They were asking $65. Listed as Northern Soul, but it is definitely like a pop vocal record, not Northern Soul. Dana Valerie, The Lamplighters Psalm. I said you're not gonna get anybody on the dance floor with this one. And Didn't We? Which is funny because on my AI music channel, I did a doo-wop song called Didn't We? So it's kind of funny to run across that, and I was like, hey, didn't I just make a song called Didn't We and post it on one of the AI? I have 2 AI music channels. One is Record Hop, which is like cruising oldies, lowrider oldies and stuff that I make on AI. And I want to do a video about AI and how I think it's going to relate to the record collecting and things like that. And I have another channel called Volunteer, and it's all kind of like humorous songs of various genres. Most of them are funny. Volunteer is like humorous songs about various vehicles, cars, trucks, whatever. I've got a snowmobile song on there coming up, and I've got a I got a couple more I'm slamming, like Cybertrucks, stuff like that. Here's one. I could only find one copy on eBay. There was a really horrible copy of this. This one's minty. Some guy's asking $15. It is a crooner. My notes say when I played it, it sounded like a bad Dean Martin impersonation, which is pretty close to what it is. It's on Rena Records out of Hollywood on Beck. I don't know Beck Street. I don't know. Oh, North Hollywood. No, I know that street. Okay, it's North Hollywood. Sorry, because I do know North Hollywood. I had a business there for many years. In fact, I still own the building there. So 5600 block of Beck in North Hollywood is where this label's out of, which is probably a residential. I'd have to look it up. I'm not going to look it up right now. I've got a date with my baby, Bob Grabu, on Rena. I always pick up these minor label ones because you never know what they are, especially when they don't come up on Discogs or anywhere else, or even on YouTube. I have found surf records that weren't listed and there were no copies of. Gonna Find My Rainbow is the other side. Which with that title, that could be a psych record. Let's face it, although it's not. it's a Dean Martin impersonation almost. Is what I called it. Now the only 78 I bought the first day, because I went back the last day because it was on the way back from a car show I filmed on the Saturday. I grabbed this because it was on Black and White. It was a country record, and it's a label I usually find like R&B or jazz or jump blues or blues. 1947 country record. Somebody's asking on Discogs $17.62, and somebody that's oddly specific. And somebody's asking $20 for this one on eBay. The wax is good. It does have a piece of tape that'll probably come off if I tried. Zeke Clements and his Western Swing Gang. Wonder what kind of music that is. It's Nobody Loves Me on this side on Black and White. Like I said, usually I find a lot of jazz, R&B, stuff like that. Not a lot of Western swing. And Blue Mexico Skies is the B-side. So I took a chance on that one. So it looks like it's never been played or barely. A lot of the 78s look really nice. In fact, okay, so I went back the last day and I said, hey, remember me? In fact, this was a lady who I think she just started doing estate sales because her on I go to estatesales.net religiously, look for estate sales, and it's listed as privately listed, which is usually like the family's listing it. Occasionally, it's an estate sale company that's just starting out that doesn't have an account with them yet, which is what it was in this case. So I said, look, I will tell you right now, I'm known as like the 78 guy. I go to these sales and they're like, you're that guy that buys 78s. And a lot of times I either get like the whole lot for one price or, you know, they'll wind up giving me what's left on the last day. Unfortunately, that means I wind up with a lot of like stuff no one will ever want on 78, which if you've collected 78s for more than 5 minutes, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So that's what happened. I went back the last day, said, hey, remember me? And I bought the whole rest of the 78s for $25 as one whole thing. And I did find some good stuff on there, and a lot of it's because records were mixed in to those record albums, which we have one coming up. I'm going to show you an example where it's supposed to be one thing, and you go in the record album, and it is not. So we will get into that one here in a minute. There was one, I grabbed all the 78s, all the 10-inch records, and there was an EP in there. This one sells for $8.60. It says for $9 basically on Discogs. Country 10-inch LP, popular range songs with the sleeve. Red River Dave. So this is just a 10-inch LP on Varsity. I did see this was also released on King Records as well. But this is fun, fun artwork from, I didn't get a year on this, so I'm guessing it's probably 50s. But it's pretty clean. So it's like a 10-inch LP, and new it was 98 cents. It has that stamp. I've seen this stamp before. Like I think different record retailers use that same stamp. I have 78s that are stamped with that same stamp. I've collected over the years. Here's one you kind of know what it is. I need to get more. Actually, I need to order more 78 sleeves. I got to remember that today because I am out again. And those things are not cheap, man. I need to just buy them in bulk or something. 1948 jazz novelty record. You know it. It is Sweet Georgia Brown by Brother Bones. Now, this one pops up a lot. It's on tempo. This is the theme. This is the version, too, that's the theme for the Harlem Globetrotters. So it has a low of 4, mid of 6, I think high of 26 on Discogs. Margie's the B-side, no one cares. Sweet Georgia Brown is the theme for the. In fact, I've seen the 45 where the record label is Harlem Globetrotters. In fact, my mother owned a copy like that where it said Harlem Globetrotters is the record label with the Brother Bones Sweet Georgia Brown. In fact, I probably still have her copy and she used to tap dance back in the 50s, so she used to tap dance to it. That's what she told me. 1947. Now this is okay. Here we're gonna go into the story on this one. So I buy all the 78s. I didn't go through them all because if you collected 78s for more than 10 seconds, you've seen this a million times. Merry Christmas, Bing Crosby. Now, if you collect LPs, this is like the Sing Along with Mitch, The First Family, Whipped Cream and Other Delights, the Mantovani LP. This is like that to 78s as those are to LP. Like, no one wants it. Well, actually, Whipped Cream and Other Delights, people do like that one. But, so because someone's going to call me out for that one. I like Herb Albert. But this is the First Family record of LP, like as that is to LPs, this is to 78s. It pops up all the time. Nobody cares. The only one people care about is it does have White Christmas in it. People do like that for their 78 jukebox around the holidays. Now, this is not only Merry Christmas, Bing Crosby. It is a copy that's falling, like where the album is falling apart. Okay, so it's falling apart. So I usually see this and I run because they usually have the correct records because this is the one that Grandma always kept around to listen to Bing Crosby every Christmas and then put it away until next Christmas. And now I go in here, the first 3 records of the 4 album set are the correct Bing Crosby records. Now you think I would have stopped. For some reason I did not stop. I got to the end and there was a record here and it was not Bing Crosby. It was something else. It was Christmas, but it was something very much better than Bing Crosby's Christmas. It was a 1947 blues record in really nice condition. It has a slight warp, but it plays fine on my turntable. Has sold for Discogs for $75. I've seen different asking prices. 10, 47, 57, and 75 are the 4 different asking prices currently on Discogs. It is the original version of Merry Christmas Baby, which a lot of different artists have covered, including Elvis Presley. Johnny Moore's Three Blazers, and yes, he is listed as the one of the co-writers on it, so this was the original version. Merry Christmas Baby on exclusive. I found a lot of great stuff on exclusive over the years. And look at that, it is clean. Unfortunately, it does have a slight warp. The needle does this, but it does play. Lost in the Night is the B-side, but a great blues, R&B, from 1947 Christmas record, which I don't believe I have too many Christmas R&B 78s. I can't think of any off the top of my head. But like I said, sometimes you got to check them, even if it's Mr. Crosby. You got to check them sometimes because you never know what you're gonna find in there. So, like I said, this one was even like falling apart. So I was like literally like. This could have gotten thrown away very, very easily because, like I said, it's literally one of those things like 0 people care about anymore. Because I've seen people who want it, though. There are people who want that, but I would say it would have to be in mint condition, like the album and everything. But like I said, it's probably the most common 78 set you'll find out in the wild. And yes, they did put it on LP as well. So the LP is extremely common as well. In fact, I think they issued that thing for years to come. You could probably find it new. I bet you they still press that and put it out because it's just one of those Christmas standards. So yeah, people want it, but it's so common that I wouldn't pay that much for it. 1947 jazz record was in there. Not a high value. I found a lot of Jack McVeigh on black and white. Richard Gets Hitched. So I was just going to show you an example of a jazz record on black and white that was in there. And the Keys in the Mailbox. Unfortunately, they put their address label and it got ripped off right there, a piece of tape. So I'm black and white. I found blues. I have a T-Bone Walker in one of the videos I found on black and white. What do we got here? This one I more put it in the video. It's not really worth much, but it has a Disney connection. It's a RCA Victor, Tex Beneke with the Miller Orchestra. I will say there's country in here and there's hillbilly stuff in here. Not stuff I usually find locally. This is Uncle Remus Said. This is actually from the movie Song of the South, which of course Disney will not like release on in any form anymore. Anybody's love song, and we're not going to go into that. And then the fact they just got rid of the Splash Mountain ride and rethemed it at Disneyland and Disney World because they want to distance themselves, which was based on Song of the South, because they want to distance themselves as far as possible from that movie. I got a few from the same artist. Now, some of these guys who live like in other parts of the country will be like, no, we find that all the time. I already know that's coming. Not a high value, but they're in really nice shape. And there's like a bunch from the same artist. And it's locally, it's not an artist I run across that often. But I'm sure in other parts of the country, they come across it all the time. On King Records, we got Mountain Dew, Grandpa Jones. I'm just going to breeze through. This one has a value. This one sold for $1 on Discogs. It's such a minty copy. Apparently, this guy did the voice of the cartoon character that advertised Mountain Dew in the 60s, which is before my time, but I've seen it like in those old commercial compilations, so I know what they were talking about. And My Darling's Not My Darling Anymore is the B-side. It's like fun hillbilly country stuff. I said not high value. I do like to show records I find that are just fun, even if they're not like... This one is $8 on Discogs. Another one in really nice condition. I wish they had like a bunch of R&B records in this condition. I would have been really happy. 52 Country Bluegrass. 15 cents is all I got. Grandpa Jones again. And Fix Me a Pallet. I played a few of these. They're definitely a lot of fun. Not my usual 78 stuff. Not something I really would have pulled normally. Like I said, if I was buying them individually. This one I don't have a value, which means it probably wasn't that high. From 49, 144,000 were there. This one's actually a country gospel by Grandpa Jones. And on the B side, That Depot in the Sky. So it's more of like one of his gospel records. I believe these are all either on iTunes or there's a copy where someone copied the record and put it on YouTube. Trouble, 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 Grandpa Jones, another one on King. In fact, we have a Grandpa Jones coming up on RCA as well. And send in your name and address. This one is sold for $7 on Discogs. I said Discogs 78 values are like, you know. A lot of 78 guys don't use Discogs because they're worried the sellers don't know how to pack them, which happens a lot. Then you get them and they're broken in half, which is why I've never bought a 78 online. Or had one shipped to me. I've always just found them locally. This one is super minty, and this one, 53 country record. I think I couldn't find a definite sold value, but it said it was kind of a rare Grandpa Jones, if that's a thing. Bread and Gravy on RCA Victor. This one looks like it's never been played. Papa's Corn Liquor Still, if you want a moonshine record. I will say there were other like country and hillbilly stuff, not high value. I did leave it out of the video or this video is going to go ridiculous. Another Grandpa Jones. This is the last Grandpa Jones. So those of you guys are Grandpa Jones'd out. Alimony Trouble. That's it. And Call Me Darlin' once again. I think most of these probably have a really low value. They're just fun. So there they are. Here's a Western Swing. This one, you probably know this song. In fact, I described it to my daughter. I'm like, you know when you're waiting in line because we go to Disneyland a lot. You know when you're waiting in line for Radiator Springs Racers at California Adventure, I go, they have that song they play called Roly Poly. Well, I found the 70. I think I've got another copy of this too. It's Roly Poly, Bob Wills and his Texas Playboys, the king of Western Swing. Nothing rare from 46. Low of 4, mid of 5, high of 10. I'm guessing because it's such a well-known song. It did play. It was a little. It'll probably play better with a good cleaning, I would say. New Spanish two-step. I would say it's in above-average condition for a 78. It's not destroyed. Most of these were like in sleeves, but the sleeves were falling apart. My kid's like yelling at me right now. I'm like, can we get through the video? Here's an interesting one that has a tie. I should have mentioned this at the beginning of the video. Has a tie to a garage rock classic that I believe we had in a few videos ago. This is from 1949. The intro to this record was sampled for the Hombres' Let It Out, Let It All Hang Out in 1967, but it was sped up a bit. But they actually took the intro from this record, sampled it for that record. The comedy country record is Red Angle and the Natural Seven. I think there was a couple other Red Angles that I didn't put in the video. Cigarettes, Whiskey, or it's spelled Whiskey, and Wild Wild Women. So if you know that beginning where he's like, preach to thee, dabba dabba, that part of the Hombre song. It's the beginning of this record too, but it's like they sped it up for the Hombres. Let it out, let it all hang out. So we have something that relates to some stuff we normally find, but there you go. Okay, now we got to get back to an R&B blues record. I know what you're saying, so we got one of those too. This was in that stack. I couldn't nail down a sold comp on this one. I don't think it's a high value since it's on Capitol. 46. Jesse Price with his orchestra. Now this is one, if you just like glanced at it, you would never know it's a blues record, because whenever they say with their orchestra, you assume it's like big band or something. It's actually Kansas City Mama, Jesse Price on Capitol. Like if I was flipping through 78s, you know who that was, you would probably skip it. And You Satisfy. It is a R&B blues record from 46, and in very nice condition. And actually, Capitol sleeve. In fact, there's a bunch of good sleeves. I gotta go through them. A lot of the sleeves that just have all that that damage just from years. You know how these old 78 sleeves just fall apart after a while. So a lot of these were a lot of them were in the wrong sleeves too, like this one. We got a 1948 R&B jump blues record. Now this is a Capitol Americana. I have never found anything that has a high value on Capitol Americana. I found great records on Capitol Americana. I don't think any of them. If anybody knows of one that has a really high value, let me know, because I have not found it. But there's great stuff on this label. Usually it's either country or like R&B or jazz on that label. It is this is a 1948 jump blues, low of 4, mid of 5, high of 8. King Size Papa, which is kind of a double entendre record. Julia Lee and her boyfriends on the Capitol Americana label. I said I found blues on this label. I found all kinds of stuff. When You're Smiling is the B-side. I said, I realize it's kind of a lower value jump blues, but still cool to find, and it's in very nice condition. There's a country record. This one has a bit of a value. 7, low of 7, mid of 8, high of 9 from 46. You Can Be a Millionaire with Me. Pappy Goob Beaver, the artist on that one. So I'm just showing. And Automobile of Life is the interesting title on that on the B-side. There were some older records. I didn't put a lot of them in the video. In fact, I'm going to give some to my neighbor because I found him a Victrola. So I just give him like some of my extra Victrola records. I got to figure out the value of this. I found not this exact Gannett early 20s jazz record. I found one I think that has one of the sides, but the other side's different. This is Bailey's Lucky 7 with Oh Min. And I couldn't find this exact record, unfortunately. And Steamboat Sal on the other side. Just to show you, I did find a lot of, not Gannett's per se, but like a lot of like Victrola stuff in there. I'm going to say there's a lot of other records that are not in the video from that stash that I got when I went back the last day. In fact, there's some good stuff that has like, it's just we'll be here all day going through that stuff. I just kind of thought I'd put the more interesting stuff in the video. 1947 country, which is probably what I have to do with those 45s I picked up, because I'm going to have to do 2 or 3 videos of that, because there's a lot of interesting stuff in there. But there's a lot of stuff I kept just to sell. It's like pretty well known. This one, I only found one copy that some guy's asking $20 for on eBay. From 47 is Rubber Dolly, Walt Shrum and his Colorado Hillbilly. So like a hillbilly record on Coast. And Now or Never. I've never found anything like completely amazing on Coast before. That's probably one of the more interesting ones I've ever. I think they did a lot of like square dance records too. Coast did, and I find that. Here's one that's kind of a those double entendre songs from 1948. kind of a fun one. It was pressed onto different labels as well. I think it was originally on Deluxe. It's on Miltone Records. The Dingy song, Ruth Wallace and his with the Deluxe Rhythm Men. Only sold for $3 on Discogs, which that could be anything because it's a '78. Tonight You Sleep in the Bathtub, and it's basically it's one of those double entendre, like, you know, the Navy guy's got a small dinghy song. It's basically the gist of the song, but it's a lot of fun. Sometimes even when they're cheap records, they're still a lot of fun. Here's a Hillbilly. So I've just put an example of one of the Hillbilly records I got on 4-Star. 4-Star, no label. I find a lot of R&B stuff on. They did a lot of country as well. This one is sold for $5 on Discogs, 40 for 47. Billy Hughes, Pecos Pals, Take Your Hand Off of It, but I said a minty copy of it. And then the Out of Town Boogie is the B-side on that one. And I will show you one set. This set pops up a lot. Has a little, just to show you that some of these sets do have a bit of a value, even the common ones. But this one, the set, like the book's in nice shape. The records are like perfect. This is 1947, a very common one. I'm sure anybody on there that's watching that does 78s, messes around with it, has run across this numerous times. Freddie Slack's Boogie Woogie. In fact, I think they did a part 2 of this. This one is sold for $12. Now we got helicopters. We're almost at the end of the video. We got helicopters. Great. All right. we just couldn't do this. We just couldn't do this. All right. 1947, low of 2, mid of 4, high of 9 for the whole set. Yes, for the whole set. Like I said, the book isn't falling apart, which is amazing. So Freddie Slack's Boogie Woogie. All the correct records are in there. They're all minty, look like they've barely been played. People do like the Boogie Woogie stuff. There's that guy who made the news who does the Boogie Woogie piano in the UK. Had that whole thing with these Chinese government officials. I don't know if you saw that. I'm sure you can Google it. You'll find it, or you look it up on YouTube. He had a whole fight with them, and they were trying to get him kicked off of YouTube, and there was like a whole thing on that. So Boogie Woogie's still relevant in today's world, even if it's in that context. So that's just a good example of one of these. I said, whenever you find these, if you have time, you should at least look through them. Make sure you don't find like a hard to find R&B record mixed in with Bing Crosby, because it does happen. Hopefully, I'm a couple weeks ahead on these videos from when you see them. So it is 4th of July week. Today's actually July 2nd, so you won't see this probably for a couple weeks. July 4th weekend, there's not a lot of sales, as you can imagine. So, and I do have a car show to film on July 4th and one to film on Sunday, which I believe is the 7th. So maybe Friday, Saturday, if there's any sales, I'll be able to get out there. If not, maybe I'll just start going through those 45s. Again, I went through them, but I need to like make them in values and stuff like that. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. I'm trying to get this channel up to 1,000 so I can get it monetized. So at least I can make a little bit of money, because they're still showing you those ads. I might as well get a cut of it, from YouTube, because I know they still show the ads on my videos, as they do, because I've already got the watch time to monetize. I just don't have the subscribers. So please subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment as some of these records, even if it's ones that you live in another part of the country, you find those like Hillbilly, Grandpa Jones type records all the time. Let me know. Make sure you like the video. Hopefully we'll be back next week with some more stuff. Well, we will be back next week. I've got more stuff to put in the video already. And until next time, I'll be seeing you.